Hey, good morning, everyone. Glenn Kellaway from the basement, back with another video. This is kind of a part two. A couple of videos ago, I did 5 bands and albums that were kind of really focused on the San Francisco psychedelic scene from 67 to 69, I think I chose the years. I want to do the same type of thing because a couple of people mentioned bands that were really from the LA area. So I am going to do essential bands and albums from the LA music scene 65 to 68. So let's see what we come up with here. Now, I think it begins and ends with the Byrds, one of the greatest bands of all time. 1965, they put out this great album, Mr. Tambourine Man, the title song, Bob Dylan's song that they covered, kind of made their own, and that Rickenbacker jangly guitar, and Roger McGuinn's great vocals. Big hit for them, and had a big bearing on bringing Dylan's name into the rock world. I remember when this album came out, looking at the back picture of that album. I think it's the first time I'd seen a picture of Bob Dylan, believe it or not. I was aware of Bob. I had a friend who's had older brothers who were in university, and so I would have been 12 at the time. No, what am I talking about? Yeah, I would have been 12 years old. And they played Bob Dylan songs, plus Peter, Paul, and Mary had a hit with Blowin' in the Wind. So the name was not unknown to me, but the actual human was. And 1965 was the year that I became a huge Dylan fan, because first Mr. Tambourine Man, this album came out in June 65. July 65, Like a Rolling Stone was released, which was huge. But anyway, the first Byrds album, 65. Now listen how prolific this band was. 65, this comes out. March 66, Turn, Turn, Turn comes out. Another big hit for the band. September 66, Fifth Dimension comes out with 8 Miles High on it. Younger Than Yesterday, April 67. No, I'm sorry, Younger Than Yesterday. Notorious Byrd Brothers comes out in 60. That's 68. Younger Than Yesterday is 67. I'm sorry. Notorious Byrd Brothers, 68. And then they take an about turn and start bringing country music into the rock world with Sweetheart of the Rodeo in 68. Do you believe that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 amazing albums from June 65 to September 68. How prolific is that? The Byrds. Next on my list, and by the way, I want to show you this. This is a great box set. If you're interested in the Byrds, look for this box set. Fantastic. The Complete Columbia Albums Collection. Can't recommend it highly enough. Sounds great. Excellent set. Everything you need. Fantastic. Next, these are not really in any kind of order. I'm going with a band that I love. I'm not sure they get a lot of love in the vinyl community, but I think they're amazing. Mamas and the Papas. Now, the only piece of vinyl I have, Mamas and the Papas, is the greatest hits. 16 of their greatest hits. But their first album came out in February of 66, if you can believe your ears and eyes. Believe that cover was banned because of the toilet. They had to change that. But this had, of course, Monday on it, and California Dreamin'. I Call Your Name, the Beatles song, Do You Want to Dance, Go Where You Want to Go, Spanish Harlem, Straight Shooter. Amazing album full of great songs. Their second album, The Mamas and the Papas, self-titled, came out in September 66. A few months later, with Words of Love on it, Dancing in the Street, I Saw Her Again Last Night. And then after that, they released an album called Deliver, I think between that and 68. Fantastic. John Phillips, great songwriter. Cass Elliot, great vocals. And Cass Elliot was also a big part of that Laurel Canyon community. She was kind of the catalyst where everyone, Cass was it, and everyone kind of met at their houses, and it's a whole scene. Next, how about the Doors? Where's the Doors? Right here. January 1967, debut album from the Doors comes out. One of the great debut albums of all time. Incredible. Light My Fire, The End, Break On Through. Fantastic album. They follow that up in September 67. Wow, again, from January to September, they come out with another great album, Strange Days, which has When the Music's Over on it. Fantastic. Then I Didn't Pull It, but Waiting for the Sun comes out in July 68. These bands were pretty prolific back then. Buffalo Springfield, Neil Young, Stephen Stills. I think they wrote the song that probably would be the poster child for the LA scene, For What It's Worth. The first Buffalo Springfield album comes out in October 66. What a year this was for American music. Forget about the Beatles releasing, Rubber Soul and Revolver and all the other great music that came from Britain at the time. Wow. And then you throw Blonde on Blonde in, which came out in 66. I mean, this is incredible. Their first album comes out in 66. 67, Buffalo Springfield again comes out, and they released a third album in 68 called Last Time Around. Last but not least, not last but not least, how about this band, Love? A lot of people just think this is the greatest frickin' album ever. It's called Forever Changes, came out in November 67. I have a love-hate relationship with this album. Some of it I really like, but I've never really grown to love it as much as others. And I really need to maybe keep listening to this. So, Love, Forever Changes. Great album. Came out in November 67. Last but not least, the Mothers of Invention. Frank Zappa and the Mothers released Freak Out in June of 1966. This is I think Blonde on Blonde came out in May of 66. This came out in June of 66. The first two rock double albums. The funny thing about this album is the Mothers were playing at the Whiskey A Go Go, I think, and Bob Johnson, the producer, who was famous for working with Dylan, and that comes down looking for bands to sign, goes and sees the Mothers of Invention, and they're playing this heavy blues track, and he goes, blues band, this is great, blues rock band, that's where it's going. He signs them right away, takes them in the studio, and then is confronted with this music. Kudos to Bob for coming around, because this is a great album. Now, I hadn't heard this album yet before this one came out. Is Absolutely Free, which came out the same year in May of 67. And this is the album that made me a Frank Zappa fan and Mothers of Invention fan. Love this. As soon as I heard Brown Shoes Don't Make It, I was sold. Wow. Then later, the next album that follows quickly is We're Only In It For The Money, the parody cover for Sgt. Pepper. Jimi Hendrix is seated actually in this photo. Then Lumpy Gravy in 68, which is where I lost Frank, because he got all really weird and my musical mind was not ready for Hot Rats and Lumpy Gravy and stuff like that. And then I got back into it with Overnight Sensation, Apostrophe, One Size Fits All, Zoot Allures. Those albums I was a big fan of. Went back later and discovered this stuff. So I'm telling you, from 65 to 68, this LA scene was something else, man. The music that came out of there was amazing. Hope you enjoyed this If there's any of this music you haven't checked out, you should. I'm sure there are a ton of other bands people are going to mention and artists, but let's just keep it to 68, 60, and then you start getting into Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and then we get into the Southern California scene with Jackson Browne and the Eagles and Linda Ronstadt, and it just goes on and on. And Poco goes on and on. But anyway, thank you. Have a great day.